Now, when it comes to social media, right? A lot of people will see you online, whether it's a social media platform like Instagram, so on and so forth. But there's a difference when people see you online and they see you in real life.
Yeah.
What's the reaction you get when people see you in real life? Do they think you look like your Instagram pictures, your Facebook pictures, your Snapchat? What do they think? What's the reaction?
That's a cool question. I think the biggest thing is I think people come into meeting me with a little bit. I mean, sometimes it's just a little bit of an assumption. You know what I mean? I think the branding and how kind of the lane of our touring and a lot of the content is, you know, it's part of the persona of the music, and it really is part of me. But there also is a part of me that when you meet me in person, I think people are kind of taken aback by, in a good way. You know what I mean? They're not really, they're maybe assuming I'm gonna be like, you know, like kind of more of that like party boy persona, not really want to have an in-depth conversation, but that's actually who I am in real life. I love to meet and engage with people, and I think that's like been a big part of why my fan base has continued to grow, because we're just out here touring, man. We're like really treating it more like a campaign, going out, meeting people. I've been doing it my whole career, you know what I mean? People need to come see it in real life, and I think to like really engage and create real fans, that's the key. You have to connect with people. People have to connect with you on like a I like that person level first before I love that artist. You know what I mean? If they like you as a person, they can live with you through your ups and downs and through your creative growing pains and all those types of things. I think that's something I've been pretty good at doing.
Do people think you look bigger in person, smaller in person, taller, shorter?
Definitely bigger and taller. I think just because, you know, I think artists typically are a little bit shorter or maybe even skinnier. Just 'cause you know, my background is way different. I was a kind of a serious baseball player before, so most reactions I get, especially fans who like watch a lot of videos, like, "Oh man, I didn't know you're this tall," you know. So I think maybe I need to figure out how to make my angles look better on for the videos so I can look bigger. But they're usually pretty surprised.
What's your opinion of social media in general these days?
I have mixed feelings about it because I love it. I live and die by it. You know what I mean? So it's so important to me, but I just think a lot of it's kind of a little oversaturated right now. You know what I mean? Everyone's doing so much, so extra, and there's just a million. There's a million. I feel like there's a new platform all the time, new platform to learn and engage fans, and not that it's a negative thing. I just feel like for somebody who lives and, you know, kind of breathes by it, it seems like kind of the wholesomeness, not even wholesomeness, just kind of the authenticity of like getting to know someone online. I feel like it's getting a little like oversaturated. There's just too much going on. There's just a lot, you know what I mean? But I personally, like, I have to live with no matter how I feel about it, because that's just kind of, it's really how we go, you know what I mean? Without social media, I don't even sell tickets, you know what I mean? I don't really have any other forms of publicity or even like coverage really. So, you know, I obviously really truly appreciate the social media age. I just think, you know, it's kind of like what happened to MySpace. It was before me, but I know what happened to MySpace. You know, it was the first platform, then it dies out because everyone's doing it, and it gets a little played out. Something else cool comes along, and I think that's just kind of the day and age we're in. Kids get bored with shit, and they want to move on to the next thing, and what's the next cool way of doing it and connecting. So it forces me, as somebody who normally probably wouldn't be so much on my phone or be so much on you know, updating people what I'm doing. You know, for me, it forces me to be engaged and stay focused on what's new and what's trending.
What's your biggest pet peeve with social media, if anything? If that wasn't something that you just named.
Yeah. Biggest pet peeve about social media would probably be I hate the fake follower shit. I really do. You know what I mean? If I'm scratching for something that annoys me out of it, I just don't like that. Because again, somebody who kind of grew my career there, I don't like when people are kind of messing with the authenticity of that. Like if you create a following and a brand, you don't want to be convoluted or like compared to the next guy who bought a bunch of followers too. So I think that could happen. I also think if you have any feel or any savvy, you could tell who's fake and who has real engagement and who doesn't. But yeah, that's probably my biggest pet peeve about it.
How do you deal with negative or hateful comments?
I don't. I really don't give a fuck. It's been a minute. It's been a while for me to like really truly be able to say that. But I could give zero fucks, and it's just kind of how. I think it's how you have to be, and it really wasn't how I was initially. I remember people would say shit and be like, what do I mean? You know what I mean? Like I'd try to be like, it'd be bothering me and shit. And just over the span of, doing it, being in the public eye, albeit not huge, you just get used to it, man. You grow a tough skin, and like if you don't grow a tough skin, then it's probably not the job for you. You know what I mean? So.
Do you hide comments, delete comments, block people, clap back?
Yeah, no. I used to like chirp people back here and there on Twitter, and then even that was a couple years ago. So it's been a couple years of just kind of, you gotta like. I really grew up as a person in the last, I'd say, really the last few years mainly. I felt like a big step forward and just understanding, like I understand why people wouldn't like me. You know what I mean? I understand that's part of it, and music is a very highly opinionated, you know what I mean, thing. Like there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. You know what I mean? It's not like sports where your stats are the best, so you're the best. It's not. You know what I mean? Like you could compare Grammys or accolades or whatever, or followers, but at the end of the day, how do you measure success? You know what I mean? In this game, there's a lot of different measures at this point. So for me, I just try to stay focused on like what we're doing, you know what I mean? And if somebody doesn't get along or doesn't really vibe with it, maybe it's not for them, you know what I mean? But I don't really I don't think you need to tell me about it. But at the end of the day, there's tons of those types of people, and that's just part of it.
Now, Justin Bieber was heavy on Instagram, and he was in a controversial relationship, and he posted his pictures of his relationship on his Instagram, and he got a lot of negative flack, and he told his followers to chill out, and after a few days they didn't, so he terminated his Instagram profile. He's been offline for several weeks now. Have you ever gotten to the point where you wanted to terminate one of your social media platforms or got close?
Not even close, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I think I'm not even light years in comparison to what the fuck he's dealing with all the time. You know what I mean? It's probably really draining. And that's another, I just feel like I learned that you can't ever assume or put yourself in somebody else's shoes. It sounds cliche, but it really is. I can't imagine being him, you know what I mean, and having to deal with the things he deals with on a daily basis. So I don't know, what's really behind that, but for me, it's not an option. Like Justin Bieber can do that. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like everyone's dying and waiting for it to come back. It's probably a good thing. You know what I mean? But for me, it's just too essential to like stay in people's faces and show what we're doing.
Do you have a Snapchat?
Mm-hmm.
Same screen name as your Instagram?
No. And it's funny, I remember when I started Snapchat, I was in a bar. Some girl was like, you need Snapchat. This was like, 3 years ago, and I was like, all right, whatever. Like I thought, at first, Snapchat for me, when it started, was like, when you're talking to girls, like, that's I didn't see the vision. That was before, like, I really wasn't in tune with everything, so I really didn't see the upswing of what it was gonna be, how commercial it's become. But for me, that's what it was. So I'm Mike Stud Homie, which is like a little, kind of a side name that I've always been called. So that is like a regret. I wish it was the same. But that was one of those drunken bar nights where somebody made me, some girl, I don't even know, shout out whoever you are, but she put me on Snapchat early, so.
Do you post a lot on Snap?
I try to. Instagram now has a version of it, which I'm slacking in.
I was just going to ask you that about Instagram stories.
Yeah,
that's a feature they started that's similar to what
right.
Snapchat does. Have you tried it?
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to follow along. It's pretty much not a ripoff, but more it is kind of, So it's easy to do. I just, for whatever reason, like these guys usually Snapchat for me while I'm on stage. That's like kind of the most important thing. But we do Snap more. I think we've been Snapchatting more versus Instagram. Although I think that might change. I think from what some people have gathered, especially some of my friends on my bus, they think that it might actually help your Instagram numbers to stay pretty steady with your Instagram Snap story. I didn't even call them Instagram stories.
Yeah,
So,
Instagram stories. Yeah.
yeah. So that might be something that we kind of. I'm always a little not slow to it, but I just kind of see what is really essential for me to do, and then if I realize that it's that important, I just adjust and go do that. So.
Now, do you think with the rise of Instagram stories, that feature, do you think that'll take away from what Snapchat's been doing in its popularity, or do you think Snapchat will still be Snapchat and going strong?
I wonder. I guess if I had to guess, I think Snapchat's going to take a serious hit. You know what I mean? I do. Because Instagram is still like the cool thing. You know what I mean? It's not like it's come and gone. Kind of like Twitter a tiny bit, feels like. Instagram's still really popping for me, I guess. So I would say I feel like it has to affect it, but I do think that Snapchat has such a loyal following. I know I'm kind of loyal to it just by default. So.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but there was a time when Instagram was just pictures and no video, and Vine came along and was video. And as soon as Vine started getting hot, that's when Instagram started implementing photos and video.
Right.
And Vine isn't as popular as it used to be, from what I can see.
Definitely not.
So I don't know if Instagram had anything to do with that situation, but
yeah. I would guess yeah. You know what I mean? I would guess yeah. I think it's kind of a trend. But, to the powers that be, that's how it works sometimes. You know what I mean? I feel like that happens a lot in the corporate world. You see what's hot on the ground level, and then you make it better and you implement it. It's just kind of how it goes.